Okay, anytime a camera system you're going to use, you're going to quickly discover that there are peripherals that you add on to your cameras that honestly, they become almost as important as the camera itself. I'm talking about things like your lenses, heck, your battery systems that you're using to power system, and I would have to put a monitor as one of those all-time essential tools that you're going to have attached to any camera you have, all the way down from a little mirrorless, all the way up to big area Alexa. And today what I want to do is I want to take a look specifically at a 7-inch monitor. Now I'm going to be focusing on the Viltrox DC-A1 7-inch monitor today. Now a lot of this is going to apply to any type of monitor you have, but what I want to do today is I want to look at a 7-inch monitor, look at the benefits it brings, and I also want to take a look here at this Viltrox DC-A1 and see if this is a monitor that might make sense to incorporate into your workflow. Okay, now before I get into all the functions of what this Viltrox DC-A1 7-inch monitor brings, I do think it is important to talk about the times that actually a 7-inch monitor actually might make more sense for you than say a little 5.5-inch one like this Atomos Ninja 5. Now, for me personally, there are some cases where this extra real estate comes in incredibly important for me when I'm on set. Now, one thing I would notice is that, you know, I'm a handheld shooter. I love doing a lot of handheld stuff. And I just feel, if you look, this is a 7-inch monitor right here. And I feel like I can still hold this camera. It's very, very easy. It doesn't really, the bulk doesn't get in the way of my operation. You can see here if I take this Ninja, I'm just gonna take it right here and just kind of put it right on top, just so you can see. It's actually, this is a 7-inch screen, so the display is much bigger, but it doesn't really take up that much more physical real estate, I think, at the end of the day when I'm shooting. Now, of course, I've got a couple things here like an HDMI protector and a V-mount slip on there that adds extra bulk to this thing. But I think when you're looking at it from a purely just run and gun situation, there is no doubt that a 5.5-inch monitor is going to be more sleek and light. And if that's something that you're really sensitive to, this may still be the better option. But I do find that a 7-inch monitor gives you a great upgrade in the amount of space you can see. And more importantly, it doesn't take away from that ability to comfortably run and gun. Now, another area where I really find a 7-inch monitor to be very, very important is something that I find myself in professionally all the time. And that is if I'm in a studio type situation where I have multiple cameras and I know that my setup is going to remain fairly consistent throughout the day. Because not only is this giving me that view when I'm out there, but if I'm away from a second camera, what I love about this is I can have this and I can see it from further away. And a lot of times what'll be happen, honestly, in smaller interview situations, I'll be behind one camera, maybe I'm conducting an interview. I wanna be able to look over real quick and glance at that second camera. Now, does this mean a 7-inch monitor is actually right for you? I would say this is going to be a personal preference that comes down to what you shoot. If you find yourself needing the lightest run and gun setup on a tiny mirrorless body as possible, then you might prefer a 5-inch monitor. But if you want yourself to have some more professional flexibility, then having a 7-inch monitor, any kind of 7-inch monitor, is going to be a great tool for your kit. So all that being said, that brings me here to this Viltrox DC-A1, which is a 7-inch 2800 nit monitor, which is crazy, crazy bright. Now, the first thing I would point out about this monitor is, first off, the price on this thing is really, really impressive. This is a monitor that packs a lot, great picture, a lot of great professional apps you would want to have on a monitor like this, and it comes in at less than $300 as it stands right now. That means you can get an accessory tool that is vital for you when you're on a set for less money than you can get some filters that go on the front of your camera. So the price and value of this thing is really, really impressive. The other thing that I would point out about this is that one thing I liked about what Viltrox did about this is they give you basically everything you need to shoot all in one package. I mean, you can get it comes with a case, and in this case, it comes with a monitor mount, it comes with a battery on the back, it comes with HDMI cables, both full and mini, you get a screen protector, USB-C to A cable, and you even get a lens hood that comes with it. And one thing I really like about this lens hood, it literally, you can slip this right on. It's super easy to slip on. It pops like that, and then you just pop it open, and then it just kind of pops open like that. And then when you want to close it, you just close it back, and it kind of serves not only as a lens hood, but it kind of serves as a nice little screen protector when you're not in use. Now, when you add in this 2800 nits and you add this very, very simple and intuitive hood that comes basically incorporated into design, this means you can realistically shoot outside in bright sunlight with this monitor and you're still gonna be comfortable, which is very, very important, and one thing that a lot of monitors, especially budget monitors, will not let you do. And as someone that's done a lot of outdoor shooting in his life, this is a huge, huge consideration for me personally, because you do not want to be on set struggling to see your monitor in bright light. And I guarantee you're going to run into that, because it can be such a challenge shooting in light. And I really love that they took this into consideration here on the monitor. All right, now what I want to do is I do want to pop this off of the camera here, because I do want to talk about the form function of this Viltrox DC-A1 in and of itself. Now, as you can see, this is a 7-inch 1920 by 1080 IPS screen built here on the body. And what the IPS screen, that is designed to give you better color accuracy, it gives you a wider range of viewing angles, and it's just designed in general to give you better visibility in direct sunlight. Now, this is a touch screen, so you can touch it and pop through and do your things. But what I really like about this is, in addition to having a touchscreen, this also incorporates tactile buttons here into the body of the monitor itself. That means you have physical buttons on the top that let you access the menu. You can do it like that, or you can actually do hot buttons and set certain things that you want to incorporate. Other thing I really found really nice is on the side, there's actually a physical on-off switch you can flip on and off, which is really nice if you've ever had to deal with monitors where you have to hold down a button for several seconds to do it. I really like having just a physical switch you can turn on. And it's got this nice big physical dial here. And what's nice is this physical dial lets you can see here, you can go ahead and use that to navigate the menu instead of using the actual touchscreen itself. Now, I really like having tactile buttons on a monitor, because so much of where I work tends to be in the dark or hard conditions, and I really like having a physical ability to quickly access a button without having to go into a touchscreen or dive into a menu to get what I want. I also found that the lens hood being built so natively into the actual body itself was a huge help. I don't want to have something that I have to screw in and do it. I just want to pop it on. And what I loved about this lens hood, you can see just how fast here, if I pop it on and off, it just pops right on and off. Now, part of the price of this is the DC-A1 is also an HDMI only monitor, but if you are someone that really has SDI devices and want an SDI input, Viltrox does make a sister model of this one called the DC-L2, which does have HDMI and it does have SDI slots on it as well. So it just depends on what you want. And if you look at the top here, there's actually a USB-A slot that does allow you to import and upload your own custom LUTs here into the monitor. Now, another very important aspect is going to be power options here on a monitor. Now, as you can see on the back, it has a Sony NP-F battery slot, but you can also power it right here with a USB-C input or a DC in connection. And this is going to be super important, because if you're using a monitor like this, I tend to hardly ever nowadays actually use the Sony NP-F option, because I just don't want to add another battery to my side. On bigger kits, I'm using V-mounts, and V-mounts I can easily find USB-C, or I can find DC outputs from the V-mount. So this lets you keep your monitor sleek and powered, one battery powering all your stuff at once. And then really the last thing to look at is this does have mounting points here. You have on the bottom and on the side, and you have these 1/4-inch mounting points on the bottom and on the right side of the monitor. And they've got RE locating pins, which is really nice because that keeps your monitor from twisting. So having that extra point of contact is going to be super important. Now, when it comes to all the functions of the monitor, one thing that I love about this, even though this thing is less than $300, this gives you just about every single function I would absolutely expect to see in a professional monitor that costs several times this way. I'm gonna go ahead and pop in there just so you can start to see them. Now, the first thing you're gonna see here is it does have a volume bar that lets you see exactly how you're speaking. Now, there is a headphone jack out there which lets you monitor your things. If that's important to you, this is going to be a great thing to have. Now, another thing on there that I really just think is super awesome is it does have a histogram. And as you can see, it's got a Y histogram and it has an RGB histogram. And one thing that I think is really good about this is not only is there a histogram on there, but check this out. If you touch it, you can put there and move them wherever you need to get the monitoring in a way that you like. I think it's a super awesome little tool to have there. When you want to get rid of them, you can just cut them right off. Now, in addition to that, there is a vector scope, which is very important if you want to have proper skin tones. You can see it's got the skin tone line there, and it's really nice just letting you know that your skin tones are falling where they need to make sure that they're color accurate. Now, one thing that I think is really, really important that I want to have in any monitor I have is it does have an RGB parade. Having this waveform here is really, really critical in getting your levels right. And as you can see Y, you can do an RGB or you can do a YUV. I tend to basically always have it on Y. So this is something that I really, really like having in a monitor. It is an absolute essential thing if you are having a professional monitor. Now, one thing that's interesting here is you can click on this full waveform here, and if you do this, it's going to basically bring up all the forms all at once. And what's nice about this is you can get everything all in one setting. I tend to think this might take up a little more real estate than I would want personally, but it's nice knowing you have that option to quickly get it and do that. And like I said, you can set this as a custom function to pop it on and off if you just want to see everything all at one setting. And one of the nice really thing up here is going to be the 3D LUT. And as you can see, I can cut this 3D LUT on and off depending on what my camera is doing. And what I really like about this though is if you look, it has a LUTable list, which shows you the major camera Canon. In fact, what this says, it shows you the major camera. You have a Canon, Fuji, Nikon, Panasonic, and Sony. And if I click on Canon, you're gonna see the major LUTs you'd expect to have there. And what I also like about this is if I open up a USB, I can bring in my custom own LUT if I need one on there. So really important feature to have. Now, there are other monitoring tools that are going to be really nice to see as well. You can see here now I can actually do a peaking, and you can change your peaking from green to blue to red, depending on what your preference is for that. And now the other thing that is just a really nice feature you want in any monitor, a very professional feature, is going to be false color. And if I click on my false color, you will see it actually gives me 2 false color options that I can read depending on what I'm most comfortable with. And what's nice about this false color option is if you look at the top here, you will actually see it has a graph up there that lets you know what those false colors mean. This is really nice. A lot of false color monitors will not have a reference chart up there, so you're kind of trying to still guess or have to remember what they are. This one, super easy, lets you go super fast. And then of course, as you can see, like right here, I have that as a button. I can just click it on and off and go as I want. Now, in addition to false color and peaking, you also have things like zebras, which is going to be a really, really nice thing. If you want to set your zebra, you can set it to say, like I believe the C-Log 3, I tend to like to do that to 50 to 55% because that gives me what my skin tones are. And then we have things where I can have a gray, red, or green mode. This is something that helps you if you're focusing. Sometimes it's easier to focus without worrying about the color saturation. And you have other things like an overscan and underscan. You can actually flip horizontal or vertical, or you can have this where it will automatically flip based on your orientation, which for some people can be really good. If you want to have control over that, you can cut that off so the thing doesn't actually flip. That also gives you a lot of marker and reference options here. And as you can see, you can set your markers and you can set in punch-ins and all this stuff like this. If you're someone that really likes to have a center mark or you want a trisection, you can do that. You can do just a trisection and just a center mark. It just depends. I'm someone that loves seeing that center mark on there. And what I really like about this is you can also do something where you can bring in custom frames as you need. So for instance, this is a super useful one right here. Let's say you're shooting and you need to have stuff vertical for social media. You can click on that 9:16 format just so you know you're getting exactly what you want for a framing device. Or if you want to do more of a movie, you can do it like this. And now you can see you've got 2, 3, 5 bars if you want to do a more cinematic movie scope. Now, we also have a punch-in option, and you have 2 ways to punch in. You can actually punch here and start punching in even more and even more. But the other thing that I really like is even if I come out of here, if I want to punch in, like I said, I can just zoom in and punch in and do exactly what I want for the punch in. And then this is a really nice feature right here. We do have an anamorphic de-squeeze. So let's say you're shooting on a 2 times anamorphic things, you have a de-squeezing option built right in. And this is a really nice feature to have. Now you also have a level where you can control the brightness, contrast, saturation, hue. I tend to want to leave this all the time at 50%. The big thing here is going to be this backlight. If I click on backlight, this will allow me to control that super brightness. But as I told you before, you can literally sit there, and if I click on this, I can bring it all the way up and basically blow out the screen, or I can control it just with a dial all giving me exactly the way I want, bring it all the way down, and you can see it really makes a big difference in how you get what exactly you are going to need. And then finally, you do have some setting buttons. You can set the language. This does have a fan. The fan can be set to off if you're worried about it. I've been setting it on auto. I haven't had any real issues with this with sound, but if the sound is bothering you from the fan, you can cut it off. You can control the volume. You can do the on-screen menu display if you want to do that. And the most important thing for me is going to be this F key that you can do. And as you can see, I've set these up for certain things. So now if I come to the top, I can come and get my parade, which I really want really fast. I can do false color. I can have my focus peaking pop on and off, or if I want to have that center mark pop on and off, I can. And the other thing about this is, once you go in there, if you did want to change this, like let's say I don't want to do the center mark, I can pop in there and then I can go ahead and dial in that, get anything I want specifically for my marker. Now, one thing to note about this monitor, this is a 1920 by 1080 resolution monitor, which means it's a full HD monitor. But just understand that even though the monitor itself is 1920 by 1080, it is designed from the ground up to support 4K signals through your HDMI cable. So as you can see right now, I am shooting a 4K signal here on my camera, and it's just taking it and it's converting it down to a 1920 by 1080 signal here in the camera. So you don't have to worry about if your camera can monitor it. This thing is designed to go up to 4K in 120 frames per second. Now for me, this is a really good practical trade-off in a monitor like this. I don't ever, honestly, on screens this small, you don't really see a huge difference between 1080 and 4K, but it does make a big difference in your battery life. So I would much rather have a full HD monitor that lasts me a lot longer. Now, whenever I do a review of any product, I always like to point out what I would consider any rooms of improvement, just so you can walk in there fully aware of what these product systems are and what their limits might be. Now, for me, the first area that I did think I would personally like to see a small area of improvement is just the OS interface here on the monitor. Now, the good news is this thing has every feature I'd want. It's got false color, it's got histograms, it's got vector scopes, I got peaking on there, I got anamorphic D-screeds, it's got all the things I want, but I did find that to be just a little kind of clunky to kind of go there, and I couldn't customize it all that I want. So this isn't like a deal breaker because it still lets you access everything you want, and having these tactile buttons is really great because I don't have to dive into the menu to do it. But I just did find the menu to be not completely fluid and smooth as I've encountered on some other monitors. The other area that I would just want to make sure you all are aware of, while this thing has these great 1/4 inch RE locating pin mounting points on the right side and on the bottom of the monitor, it doesn't have anything here on the top. So that could be something that if you like to put, say, wireless transmitters and stuff like that on the top of your monitor, you're not gonna have that access here on the top. You're gonna have to do it on the side. So there you go. So all things considered, this is a super impressive 7-inch monitor that comes in at under $300 and doesn't scrimp on any of the professional qualities that you'd wanna see in a monitor that can cost 3-4 times as much money. So I just thought I'd share with this. This could be something that I think if you've never played with a 7-inch monitor and you're kind of on the fence about it, the price point is so low, the features are so good on this that it might be something that's worth adding to your kit. Anyway, guys, I'd love to hear what you have to say with this. Leave me notes and comments down below. And yeah, go out there, keep on shooting. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon.